Hi everyone. I just want to talk a little bit about my first pregnancy with my daughter Evangelina. So I found out I was pregnant on January, I think it was about the 10th of 2010. I was not expecting to be pregnant. It was a total surprise. I had actually been told by a doctor a few weeks prior that it probably would be very difficult and unlikely for me to become pregnant because I do suffer from endometriosis and ovarian cysts. So we kind of just let happen what would happen, and 2 weeks later I found out I was expecting my daughter. We went to the doctor and everything was fine, and we didn't get to actually see a first ultrasound until I was 18 weeks pregnant. At that point they were able to tell me that the sex of the baby, which she was a girl, so I was so excited and went out and started buying everything pink as soon as possible. My husband was a little disappointed. He was thrilled that our baby was healthy, and he was so excited to be a dad for the first time. But he was a little disappointed because he just really wanted to have a boy first. He thought, boy would protect girl if we had one, and he would have so much in common with this baby, but I got what I wanted. So I couldn't wait for my little girl to be born. Shortly after that, I started to have quite a few problems with my pregnancy. I woke up one morning and my shorts I was sleeping in were completely saturated with blood. I immediately called my doctor and went in to see the doctor, and they told me there was no blood there still, and the baby was fine, was still moving okay and everything, but they wanted to do an ultrasound and some tests to make sure. So I did have a bunch of testing done, and I went to have an ultrasound, and they found that I had very, very low amniotic fluid. They basically told me I was doing too much and I needed to relax more and take it easy, and the best way for me to do that would be to go on bed rest. So from that point on, I was on bed rest until I was 39 weeks one day when I gave birth to my baby girl. So all the bed rest was very difficult. I found it was really difficult to be in bed every single day. It's just exhausting and boring, and hopefully I will not have to go through that again. Obviously, the rewards were well worth it. I have this beautiful baby girl, and I would go do it all over again if I had to, but I hope in my next pregnancy that doesn't happen. For the rest of the pregnancy, it went pretty well, except for the fact that my baby was laying on my sciatic nerve. So I had sciatic nerve pain throughout my entire pregnancy, and I actually got a pinched nerve and found it very difficult to walk. So when I did have to get up, it was extremely painful. And near the end of my pregnancy, it was really difficult sleeping as well because it was still painful for me to sleep. So when they decided to induce me at 39 weeks one day, I was thrilled. I could not wait for my beautiful baby to be born. I went into the hospital that day and I was given Cervidil to help ripen my cervix. I think that's what it does. Sorry. And they gave me that drug, and I went home, and I was home overnight, and the following morning I went into the hospital and they said I was ready to start getting some more medication, some Pitocin, to start bringing on contractions. So I got the Pitocin, and about 2 hours later my labor started. So my contractions started, and they were very, very strong and very close together. So when they checked me, I was 3 centimeters, and I asked for an epidural. It took half an hour for the anesthesiologist to come to my room. By the time he got there, he gave me the epidural, and I was bouncing off the bed with pain. It was pretty horrible at that time, but once I had the epidural, I was pretty relaxed, and they checked me after that point, and I was actually already fully dilated. So I went from 3 centimeters to 10 centimeters in half an hour, and the length of my labor was 3 hours. So I was extremely lucky, but it does worry me for my next baby because I'm thinking, and from what I've heard, that usually the second time round your labor goes faster. So any faster and I might not make it to the hospital if I go naturally this time and don't have to be induced. And after that, I started to push. About half an hour later, they let me nap for about half an hour and let the epidural fully take effect and let my contractions calm down a little bit, not be so close together. Then I started to push, and within about half an hour, my baby was born. It was by far the most amazing experience of my life, and I just can't wait to do it again. My husband was a huge part of it, and he was able to cut the cord, and he actually got to grab the baby as the baby came out. So it was just a fantastic experience, and it's just so undescribable, and the feeling that you have for your baby when they're born is amazing. Shortly after that, we were in the hospital, and the baby was perfectly healthy. There was nothing wrong with her, so I went home 24 hours later. Actually, about 1 hour less than 24 hours later. So when I got home, we had family there to help me, and it was a pretty sore few days. I didn't actually have any stitches because I didn't have any major tears. I just had scrapes, so very, very tiny little tears, but nothing that needed to be given stitches for. So I was very lucky with that. It took about 2 weeks before I was able to go about my regular activities and not be so sore and to feel better and more healed. So that was great. And I initially was a breastfeeding mom, and I breastfed my baby until she was 5 months old. I also supplemented with formula. From the very beginning, when I was pregnant, I thought for sure I was going to be exclusively breastfeeding, but it's kind of a romanticized thing, I think. You know, they give you this idea that it's so easy to breastfeed and it's the most wonderful thing in the world, and absolutely it's wonderful and it's a fantastic bonding experience between you and your baby. But if you don't have the supply, then it doesn't really work. And my baby girl just did not get enough milk, so I had to supplement with formula, and at 5 months I just didn't have enough to anywhere near supply her with what she needed, so we switched to formula, which kind of broke my heart, but it's best for her. I can't have her going hungry, and she was losing a little bit of weight, so it all turned out well in the end. And then from then on, she's been a really healthy baby. She's been a lower weight baby, but about average, but she's a very long baby. In my next video, I will introduce her. She's 10 months old now and almost 11 months old. She'll be 11 months old in 3 days. And we're just going to start planning her first birthday party and everything. So there'll be many more videos to come. Anything you need to know about my labor or my pregnancy for the first time round, please send me any emails to mommyofone@gmail.com. Thanks.